What's happening to the news today? The days where objective stories presented to the people, for the people, have become a thing of the past, and an age of opinions have begun to change the face of journalism. With ethical guidelines in place for journalists, there is a certain standard that needs to be upheld to get the story. However, journalists may go into grey areas to get full coverage of a story. But there comes time when we must ask ourselves the question, how far must a journalist go to get a story? To be able to fully understand and answer the question, we must look at the several principles that make up the MEEA Code of Ethics, as well as other codes to determine whether a particular case study is deemed to compromise what it means to be a journalist. The news industry has the responsibility of being reliable when presenting news to the public. A story has to go all the way from a journalist to the editor and so on in order to make sure that it is properly fact-checked and edited before the final print. One such news outlet which seems to compromise the truth for a cheap story is the Fox News channel in America. Fox News, despite its claim to fame to providing the most up-to-date and relevant news for its viewers, most of its so-called news is propaganda-driven material. One such news anchor, very own Fox News' Laura Ingraham, is an important lesson for young aspiring journalists for what they should not become. Ingraham's attention to detail pushes the boundaries of what it means to enter the grey area, to get the scoop and outright questions her professionality. In her most recent story, LeBron James' R-rated politics, an accurate statement has been falsified or left out for Ingraham's benefit. The story revolved an interview with NBA personalities LeBron James and Kevin Durant about the divide in America and President Trump. In this segment, Ingraham, having the full support of the news network behind her, made some very arrogant and unchecked statements against James, who was the primary speaker, regarding Trump's lack of connecting with the people. Ingraham warned viewers and the fictitious children who would possibly be watching Fox News that James's story should be seen as a word of warning that it's always unwise to seek political advice, that someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Not only can her statement be clearly seen as a personal attack on James due to her right-wing beliefs, but also, more importantly, the statement is completely wrong. James, however, does not earn anything close to $100 million, quote, by bouncing a basketball, but by being a very educated individual and having a lot of businesses, is able to obtain such a revenue. His close relationship with charity organizations and employment agencies, we can suggest that it would be smart to say that James is able to connect to comment on the president's capacity to reach to the people on account that he's witnessed it firsthand. One important trait of being a journalist is to stay away from opinions in your professional life. This complies with multiple ethical codes and is essential in being a reliable journalist. Ingraham, however, couples her very propagandist values and uses insult, attitude, and abuse to sell stories. Ingraham, however, couples her very protagonist and not to discourage her smart ability to be able to get viewership with her shock jock style, but to go on to tell James to shut up and dribble, and then doubling down on James's statement about President Trump, calling it barely intelligible, not to mention ungrammatical. Just goes to show the lack of interest in others' beliefs. Ingraham's lack of appreciating and integrating information other than her own beliefs is something which the Code of Ethics or any American Code of Ethics stresses as important to uphold. This just goes to show that Ingraham doesn't open her mind up to different ideas and therefore cannot familiarize herself with other parts of the community. Ingraham tells James to shut up and dribble, drawing upon his professional status, and implies that James isn't allowed to have an opinion on politics. As the First Amendment we are entitled to our opinions, but saying that James cannot comment, does that come down to the Ingraham telling us all to really shut up? America is supposed to pride itself on its belief that everyone has the entitlement to an opinion, but just because people don't agree with Ingraham, does that mean our opinions don't matter? Or is this something bigger entirely? Respect for others is a pinnacle in the journalist industry. Part of what it takes to be a professional is to respect others' values, rights, ethnicity, and race in delivering stories to the public. Ingraham neglects and straight up disrespects James when asking, must they run their mouths like that? This very broad umbrella statement, accompanied with Ingraham attributing to LeBron James limited schooling, can be seen as a racist agenda. This idea is furthermore reinforced when Ingraham labels him as an idiot with money, saying that this is what happens when you attempt to leave school early, making it unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid to bounce a ball. So it begs the redundant question, why would Ingraham say specifically what she said, knowing how it would be received, how it would be interpreted, and ultimately how inflamed the situation could become? Without taking the racial insensitivity portion into consideration, the fact that Ingraham doesn't care or take into account the cultural differences in approach and treatment to LeBron James just goes to show how clueless she is in the mistreatment of her media platform, and uses it to objectify others in a maniacal way. Laura Ingraham, of course, is not alone when it comes to crossing the grey area by abusing her media platform to get ratings and help her popularity in the industry. Unfortunately, as journalism and media markets develop, this type of reporting is not going away anytime soon, and could potentially put everything in jeopardy. The need to stick by the rules is not a guideline to hold journalists by the hand, but a way of life which, if implemented effectively, will continue to help achieve our purpose of serving the public.